Well, let's take a look at what is happening in the markets, and we start off with the JSE that got a positive handover from the Asian markets, trading strongly in the green. We are seeing there, and of course the resources 10 complex firing on there. So quite a pleasing picture, a sea of green on that front. The all share climbing almost 2%, with the resources 10 complex popping by more than 4.5%, followed by the financial 15 there that has surged more than 1.5%, and the industrial 25 advancing more than 1%. Let's cross on over stateside and see how the U.S. markets are doing. Of course, ahead of the conclusion of the Fed's meeting that started yesterday, where we will be getting the latest interest rate decision. We are seeing those markets also firing on that front. We also did get in labor data there, the ADP private payrolls for July growing less than what markets had expected, and also the growth that we saw in the month of June. In company news, we did see the chip makers there climbing, particularly NVIDIA, as we saw AMD, the chip maker, NVIDIA's rival, Advanced Micro Devices, there releasing its second quarter earnings last night and beating on both the top line and on the bottom line. But we did see actually Microsoft, as much as it did beat on both revenue and earnings, with investors disappointed by the revenue that it came out with on its cloud division. So those shares, they dipping a little bit. But we are seeing the tech-heavy Nasdaq, of course, being boosted by those chip makers, surging almost 2.5%. The S&P 500 there following in the same direction, climbing more than 1.5%, and the Dow eking out a gain of more than 0.5%. Let's take a look at what is happening with markets across the Atlantic, and investors over there digesting the latest inflation data coming out of the Eurozone for, is it July? Yes, inflation there coming in slightly hotter than in June at 2.6% versus the 2.5% that we saw in main company news there. Europe's biggest lender, HSBC, came out with numbers as well, surprising to the upside on pre-tax profit, and saying that it will be implementing a share buyback of up to $3 billion. Quite positive sentiment filtering through there as well. FTSE 100 up almost 0.9%. The CAC 40 climbing almost 0.7%, and the DAX there with an uptick of 0.4%. Let's take a look at what is happening on the currency scene, and we start off with how the rand is doing against some of the major currencies. Quite some strength coming through to the rand, standing at 18 rand 19 against the US dollar, against the pound at 23 rand 37, and against the euro at 19 rand 69. Let's check in on how the other currency pairs are doing, starting off with the euro dollar at 1.08, pound dollar at 1.28, and the yen just above 150 against the US dollar, seeing some strength coming through there. Of course, this as the Bank of Japan hiked interest rates there in Japan.